Okay, hello. So, here's my, I would like to say monthly, but I don't really commit to a particular, period, so I don't know. Chaotic. Here's my chaotic podcast. So today I want to talk about a particular kind of question that I and other people get when they share impressive or well optimized EU4 campaigns to, let's say, a broad or a non specialized audience. Okay? So, what is this question? I will say it after the ad break. Just kidding, there are no ads. The question is this game or do you find the game fun, right? Actually, let me simplify this. Is it fun? Let's just write the question like that. And um sometimes people ask this with spite. Like I can tell that people are saying this just to be obnoxious sometimes. I guess I could be wrong, but with context clues, I can kind of get a little inkling. And when this question is asked in malice, I mean, I'm just gonna respond, give the same kind of negative energy, um, and respond with yes, now shut up. But I think I've noticed that there are people who ask this question with good intentions. They are generally genuinely curious whether people have fun optimizing EU4. And to be honest, I cannot sympathize with this perspective. Like, to me, it's kind of obvious that it could be perceived as fun for some people. Um, I'm not saying it's universally fun for all people. I'm just saying that it seems quite obvious that some people would enjoy doing these kinds of things. But again, I feel like sometimes people do ask this question with like benign intent. So I will try to answer this in a productive manner, um, you know, instead of being cheeky. But so let me give a bit more context. So let me use Reddit as an example, but I don't think it's just on Reddit. I'm sure it happens on like the official Paradox forums. It's definitely happened to me on YouTube. Like I might submit a time lapse or maybe even VODs for some speedrun or whatever on U4. You'll see like occasionally if you hunt for it, a comment or two that essentially asks, "Why are you doing this? Is this fun?" Essentially. Um, Oftentimes I feel like it's done out of spite or malice. But again, I personally found instances where I feel like it's not out of malice, it's out of genuine curiosity. But yeah, let's just pretend it's just Reddit. You might make a post on Reddit about your, I don't know, what's a what's a prime number above 1500? Oh shoot. Is 1501 prime? I mean, I kind of doubt it. I don't know. Well, let's just say 1501. I just wanted to cook up like a fun four-digit number that's in between 1500 and 1600. Suppose you do a world conquest in 1501. Okay? And you post about it on Reddit. What you'll get is you'll get a lot of people cheering you on. You did something impressive. You deserve recognition. What you'll also get is a few questions saying like, this, is it fun? So that's the context that this question is being asked. And what they're essentially saying is it fun to optimize this game? So here's the first main perspective, which I feel like is probably sufficient to answer this question, but um, it's a podcast. Is it a podcast? I titled it a podcast, and on YouTube, I guess I'll title it as a podcast. So I better spend more time talking about extra fluff. But the meat of it is that U4 is a strategy game. This is the perspective that many people have when they're optimizing U4. Now, I think nobody would contest me if I say EU4 has strategy game elements, right? Yet, I think the vast majority of people would contest me if I say that EU4 is a pure strategy game. Why? Because many people do play EU4 not just for the strategy aspects, but also for like the immersion aspects, the roleplay aspects, and so on. For example, you are France. Is that France? That is France. This is France. You know, you're France, and maybe you don't want to expand beyond these borders, right? Because you are interested in some notion of like historical accuracy. Maybe you find it interesting or fun to roleplay as like the conquest that Napoleon did. So maybe instead of directly conquering Germany, you might set these up as like vassals or client states, right? To sort of replicate the ideas that Napoleon went through. So these are like very sensible perspectives that many people have about this game. But for people like me and for other people who really find optimizing EU4 interesting, they view EU4 primarily as a strategy game. They don't care about borders being clean or historical or whatever. They care about certain numbers going up or certain objectives being fulfilled. For example, if your objective is a world conquest, then they care about, well, not always. They're very, very different. There are many ways to sort of make world conquests more interesting or strategically challenging. But like one obvious way is to work on the time, do a world conquest as fast as possible. And this, and so if you accept that EU4 is a strategy game, which again is not a perspective that I'm particularly like interested in pushing on everyone. Like people have their own reasons for playing a game. Just like how I have my own reason for playing a game, which is that I really like the strategy aspects of EU4. But yeah, if you view EU4 as a strategy game, I think that's essentially all you need to accept that that's why people have fun optimizing in EU4, right? Okay, but let me add a bit more fluff and go a bit deeper. So there are many aspects of EU4 that I might actually kind of dislike. Okay, not all things are roses and flowers and whatever. So the reality is that when you're optimizing EU4, again, I use optimizing in this sort of blanket manner without precisely defining what I'm trying to optimize. You can certainly optimize things that are maybe non-standard, like you might try to optimize your fun, in which case the things I'm saying won't really apply. But if you're optimizing like typical things like your speed at your conquest or your like economy or whatever, then you'll generally run into like the things I'm trying to talk about. But when you're optimizing in the context of EU4 or I guess any other strategy game, essentially what you're doing is when given a lot of options, right? You have some option A, option B, option C, so on. You're essentially picking the one that gets you the closest to your objective. Because of how complex EU4 is, it's not like super clear. But that's like one way to think about the art of optimizing, right? But the problem is that certain decisions have certain other costs associated with them. When there are in-game costs, like maybe option A is like declare on the Ottomans, option B is declare on, say, Russia, and you think of like the in-game trade-offs, like maybe attacking and conquering the Ottomans will give you more economy because maybe the Constantinople node is more useful to you than the Kazan or like the Novgorod node. In that case, you sort of value the decision A more. But then you might also say, oh, but maybe beating Russia is easier than beating Ottomans in my current game state. So you have this sort of balance you'd like to play. But the one thing that people don't sort of take into account usually is out of game factors. For example, let's go back to Ottomans and Russia. Maybe Ottomans are like super big right now, right? And you know you can beat the Ottomans. Like you're like super strong, but maybe beating up the Ottomans is much more painful, like to you, than beating up Russia. That should be a factor that is totally irrelevant for optimization when you're, because you're thinking about purely in terms of the game. But maybe option A, takes up like, let's say like 5 hours of effort. Option B maybe takes like 2 hours of effort. So these are sort of the decisions that when I'm in my optimization mode, these are sort of the factors rather that I would like to not think about because they frankly don't have anything to do with strategy, but it's something you really do have to think about when you're actually like playing the runs out. Okay. And with that in mind, there are many things in EU4 that are really non-options, aside from real-time like effort. Like you might have like this illusion of choice between two options, but like A is clearly superior. Okay, but maybe A is like clearly like more obnoxious. Maybe it takes 10 hours worth of effort to do A, whereas B might be, let's say B is like just the action of doing nothing, so it takes 0 hours, right? There are many things in game that are like that. For example, on patch 1.31 and other patches as well, if you save and reload the game every month, your autonomy on your provinces, on territories, goes from 90% floor to 50% floor. Fortunately for me, this autonomy of being 50% does not affect your your income on your month tick on 1.31. Why? Because the game essentially updates this on the month tick. It goes from 50 to 90% and then calculates your income. At least that's the explanation I have. I don't know how it exactly works. However, it does affect your expenses. At least certain kinds of expenses. In particular, it affects your expenses in terms of being over force limit. Okay, suppose you're like 60 out of 40, so you're over force limit right now, and you're paying extra. You save and reload the game. Your autonomy floor goes down to 50% on territories, so your force limit will increase. Maybe your force limit, maybe you're not above force limit now. Now, actually, on the month tick, your autonomy updates, but the calculated expense seems to somehow like apply before the autonomy updates, or maybe force limit doesn't apply immediately. I don't exactly know, but you do save money because force limit updates or your army maintenance cost updates is somehow like computed before this like 50 to 90% update happens. Okay, so ignoring I guess I spent too much time on the details, and if you didn't get it, that's okay. The point is, on 1.31, if you were over force limit, you were incentivized to reload the game every month. Now let's go back. Here, this is clearly the better strategy to do in the context of optimization, right? Here, A refers to reloading every month. B refers to inaction, right? It's doing nothing or not reloading every month. This is clearly better in the context of optimization, yet this takes a lot of effort. And these are things I do not like, because these are sort of like freebies in the sense of strategy. It's like, you better do it if you want to be optimal, but like it's so much effort. Whereas many in-game decisions, yeah, like it has different like efforts associated with the decisions, but it's not clear which one's better. So like the act of finding the right decision is what really interests me. And the act of executing those decisions are not necessarily interesting to me. Okay? So let me summarize a bit. So in the context of optimizing in EU4, I like theory crafting. I like coming up with so-called optimized or optimal strategies to fulfill some objective. And moreover, I like it because it sort of invokes some sort of creativity in me. It forces me to be creative. It forces me to think out of the box. And when I find like the right or like a very good solution, then I'm very satisfied with myself. It's sort of like why people solve puzzles. Now, what's funny is I kind of don't like playing. That's like, you might be surprised, like, but that's kind of true. Like, there are lots of parts about playing EU4 that makes it not so fun. But the reason I play EU4, or or rather the reason why I pilot my theories, my strategies, or whatever, is because of a couple reasons. One is that other people won't do it. I have to do it because I guess EU4 is not high stakes enough that I can just like keep pumping out new strategies and then expect someone to like try it. So I have to do it myself. But why do I even do it? For a couple reasons. One, so I can evaluate the strategy. So I can evaluate the results of theory crafting. And in particular, I can evaluate it and improve on it. It's not so clear how one can sort of, in quotes, solve EU4 on pen and paper, or, well, it doesn't have to be pen and paper, but like through like purely theoretical means. Like, I don't think we currently have the right techniques nor the computational capabilities to solve EU4 to like somehow like be confident that your theory crafting or strategy works without actually trying it. So by actually doing my campaigns, I can better understand or get a good grasp on whatever things I theory craft. I think the biggest recent example of that is my World Conquest, where I'll give more info on this later. I'm, in case you don't know, I'm working on a video for it. So maybe I shouldn't spoil too much, but oh, maybe this is the ad, right? Remember, this is like the ad. I'm sponsored by this video. Can't be sponsored by a video. I guess you're sponsored by the person behind the video. Oh wait, that's me. Can you sponsor yourself? Does that work? I guess so, right? If you have different products, you can sponsor yourself or different companies. Oh, I don't know, whatever. So, the reason I find this a very interesting example of this is that on 1.30, I discovered the fast revoke strategy, how you can revoke privilegia on the HRE, and I also discovered that you can add Africa and Asia to the HRE. What does that mean? That means that you don't have to core any of Africa or Asia in a world conquest. You could just add it to the HRE, release them as HRE vassals. So you'll have an HRE vassal like in Korea, for example, and then do the final renovatio reform to integrate everyone for free, essentially. So I discovered that and predicted that you can do like a pre-1510 world conquest, right? And later on, I don't know when. I think it's somewhere in like the 1.30s, but it might be 1.31. But um, I believe someone from the Chinese community informed me of an event called Defender of the Vulnerable Faith. This is the event ID. But essentially, it's an event that gives you 25% war score cost reduction against other religions. And more war score cost reduction means you can take more provinces per peace deal. And so what that means is that there are fewer truce breaks that you need to do in your world conquest. So with that in mind, I thought we can do like a pre-1500 world conquest. But to be honest, I left it at this level. I left it at the theory crafting level because, again, like I didn't want to play this out. Like playing it out required a lot of save scumming to get this DOTF.1 event. It required a lot of like optimization of this fast revoke strategy. Like it was not like as viable as I wanted it to be, and to make it viable, I think I had to play and like think more on how to do it better. And then Terry did a 1495 world conquest using essentially this strategy. Now I should paint him in a better light because I'm acting as if he used my strategy. It's unclear like how much of his strategy he came up independently. I know he referenced my fast revoke, so like he got this from me. He probably figured out all the other things on his own, and more importantly, he executed everything, which people definitely maybe like undervalue. It takes a lot of hard work, but also like talent to go from theory craft to actual results, because EU4 is such a complex and dynamic game. Like you have to adapt to different situations and like tweak your strategy. But he did that. And then later on, through another person from the Chinese community, CT actually, I found out about CTA cancel. I also invented I also found a new way to sort of like a better way to do this. It's actually something Terry also found independently, but and I found a few other like interesting optimizations to the early game with the help of Nostek. And at that point, I thought, oh, we can do a 1490 world conquest. So, like admittedly, like there were some like theoretical advancements between these steps, but I feel like this sort of shows like how reliable theory crafting is, because like my initial theory crafting got me to this conclusion, but then like we kept like going down because we're like, oh, we can do better than that, we can do better than that, and then this was the limit of our best estimate on when we can do a world conquest on patch 1.31. I should mention that Marco has a world conquest on 1485 on a patch that I don't remember, 1.2 something. I don't know, it's 1.1 something. Using Kyoto engine and infinite money and manpower, using template overflows, I believe. But it's such a like archaic patch that we were more interested in like the more recent patches. And like this was basically the best limit we had until I actually went through the effort and said, let's do this run out. Let's do this run out. And as I was doing the run, I found more theoretical improvements. I realized that certain assumptions or theories that I had in mind didn't work out nicely, so I had to tweak them. And towards the middle of the run, I think around like 14, maybe like, I would like to say like around 1460s, I refined this estimate to 1485, I believe. And again, towards the middle of the run, I refined it to 1480, and then suddenly I got it down to 1472. Like, the amount of improvement in the strategy that I was able to do by actually playing the game out and thinking hard is insane. And that's why I play. Well, that's a big reason why I play. And that's what I mean when I say I don't like playing, and when I said kinda. Um, there are many parts of playing that I don't like because it feels like just effort for the sake of effort. But the act of playing enables me to refine like strategies and theories. And that's the part that I'm most interested in. But and that's why I find doing optimized E4 campaigns fun, because it better informs me about um, the effectiveness of certain theories or certain strategies, and I like theory crafting. So hopefully you were able to, if you were not able to sympathize with me before, maybe you can better sympathize with me now. But otherwise, hopefully you enjoyed my smooth, buttery voice. No, I don't have the voice to say that. There's a person who I watch who says that, and I find it funny. I really enjoy his voice. Guess that's it. Thank you.